Hey, you. If you're feeling trapped right now, like like the world outside is just way too much, believe me, we really get it.
We do.
You're searching for a way through this agoraphobia, and yeah, you want to start feeling better fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what this deep dive is for. We've sifted through a load of information, articles, treatment tips,
Yeah, quite a bit.
to pull out the stuff that feels genuinely useful, things that can give you a foothold, something you can actually use to begin moving towards, well, more freedom.
It's not about some overnight fix. We should be clear on that.
Definitely not. But the sources do offer insights, things that can be your first steps you can take, like starting almost right now.
Exactly. And I think to get us started, it's really important we're clear on what agoraphobia actually is.
Right.
You sometimes hear it described as just, a fear of open spaces, but the sources we looked at that clarify it's more about the fear of being in situations where escape might be tough.
Or where getting help quickly feels like it wouldn't happen.
Precisely. Like being on a bus, maybe, or in a packed shop, or even just standing in a queue. Those sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, it's not really the place itself that's the issue, is it? It's the feeling associated with it.
That's the core of it.
One of the articles we read, it really explained it well. It said the real fear is often about feeling helpless or maybe deeply embarrassed if you were to have a panic attack out in public.
That fear of losing control in front of others.
Exactly. It's that constant what if loop that just gets so overwhelming. One source even described it like this heavy cloud of dread that sort of follows you whenever you even think about leaving home.
Wow, that really paints a picture.
It does. And you can see how, as that anxiety grows, the places where you feel safe, your comfort zone, it just shrinks and shrinks.
Until maybe even the idea of stepping outside the front door feels
Yeah.
impossible.
Just too much.
And that brings us to a really key point from all the sources. They consistently, strongly suggest that getting professional support is often the most effective way forward.
Okay, but let's be real. Reaching out for help when just leaving your safe space feels terrifying. That's a huge barrier in itself, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's the cruel irony of agoraphobia. But this is where something genuinely helpful and crucially accessible comes into play. The sources consistently point towards online therapy.
Right, let's unpack this for a moment, because if you're listening and you need something to help you feel a bit more in control, like quickly, this is huge.
It really is.
Think about it. Getting that professional support, someone guiding you, helping you figure out those first steps to manage the fear, but all from the safety, the comfort of your own home.
No need to face the outside world before you're ready.
That's the kind of immediate head these sources are talking about. And honestly, if you're wanting to take that first step right now, like while you're feeling this motivation, and you need that fast relief,
Yeah.
exploring online therapy through the link in the description, that really does sound like the simplest, most direct first move you could make.
It removes that initial hurdle of having to go somewhere. It makes help immediately accessible.
Exactly.
And once you maybe have that support system starting, or even just while you're considering it, the sources outline some practical strategies you can begin to think about.
Things you can do yourself.
Something, yeah, or things to work on with support. One idea that comes up a lot is creating a hierarchy of anxiety-provoking situations.
Okay, so how does that help you, like, right now?
Well, it's about taking that big, overwhelming fear and breaking it down. You make a list.
A list.
Yeah. Starting with situations that maybe just cause a little bit of anxiety, and then gradually working up to the things that feel, completely overwhelming right now.
And the great thing about this, the sources suggest, is that just making the list itself is an action.
Exactly. You can do it right now, at home. It's tangible. It can help you feel like you're starting to organize the fear, maybe take back a tiny bit of control.
I like that. Taking back control.
And alongside that, another thing emphasized is learning and using relaxation techniques. These are tools you can start using immediately.
Like what?
Well, deep breathing is mentioned often. It sounds simple, maybe, but it's really effective for calming that immediate physical panic response.
And you can do that anywhere, right? Even just sitting at home feeling anxious.
Absolutely. Anytime, anywhere. It's a tool for the moment.
Okay. And then there was this other idea. Systemic desensitization. Sounds a bit technical.
It does sound a bit jargony, but the core idea is pretty straightforward. Think of it like dipping your toe into cold water instead of jumping straight in.
Okay.
You gradually get used to those things that trigger your anxiety by exposing yourself to them in really small, manageable steps, very gradually.
And the sources said having support, like from an online therapist, is helpful here.
Yeah, really helpful because they can guide you in figuring out what those tiny steps might be and support you through it. One article mentioned a framework like react, retreat, relax, recover, repeat.
I saw that. React, retreat.
Relax, recover, repeat. It highlights that it's okay if you feel overwhelmed and need to step back.
It's not about pushing too hard too fast.
Exactly. It's about gradual progress, not perfection. Taking a breath, trying again when you're ready.
Makes sense.
And we should definitely mention cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. It comes up frequently as a really important approach.
Right. CBT. What's the quick takeaway on that for someone needing help now?
Well, the sources explain that CBT basically helps you identify and then challenge the negative thought patterns that fuel the agoraphobia.
Like the thought that a panic attack is dangerous.
Exactly that. Or that something terrible will inevitably happen if you go out. CBT helps you question those thoughts, see them differently.
And doing that, again, maybe with an online therapist who's easily accessible.
Yes, that can build your confidence. It helps you start to believe you can face those situations, maybe starting small, because you understand the thoughts driving the fear aren't necessarily true or inevitable.
So it's about breaking that cycle. Thought leads to anxiety, leads to avoidance.
Precisely. You learn to interrupt that cycle.
It really does feel like it's all about these smaller, manageable steps, isn't it? Not one giant leap.
Definitely.
And something else that stood out, maybe seems simple but really important, was the focus on self-care, even when you feel stuck at home.
Oh, that's so true. It's easy to let that slide when you're overwhelmed by anxiety, but the articles really stress that looking after yourself, even in small ways, is crucial for recovery.
What kind of things?
Things like gentle exercise you can do at home. It's mentioned as being good, not just physically, but for combating that feeling of isolation and, just lifting your mood a bit.
Yeah, just moving your body can make a difference.
And basic things too, like trying to maintain some routine, eating reasonably well. It all contributes to your overall well-being, which supports your mental health work.
And finally, something that feels really key, especially when you desperately want that fast relief, is remembering to acknowledge the small wins.
Oh, absolutely essential.
Because getting past agoraphobia, it takes time. It's not a race. And the sources really emphasize that, noticing and, actually celebrating the tiny bits of progress. That's vital.
It really is. Maybe you managed a moment of intense anxiety without fleeing back inside immediately, or maybe you just managed to make that anxiety hierarchy list we talked about.
Or maybe the win is just clicking the link to look into online therapy options.
Exactly. Those aren't small things in this context. They're huge. They provide the encouragement, the motivation to keep taking the next step.
Yeah.
What's really striking when you pull all this together is how it circles back to that need for, relief and wanting it now, which is completely understandable.
Totally.
And what these sources collectively suggest is that the most direct path to starting to feel that shift, that relief, is by getting that professional support on board.
And the fact that online therapy makes that support so readily available right from your home.
It just removes so many of those initial barriers that agoraphobia itself puts up. It makes help truly accessible immediately.
So if you're listening right now, and that feeling of being trapped is just weighing so heavily on you, please hear this. Taking that very first step towards getting accessible professional support that you can start from home. That seems to be what these sources point to as the most immediate action you can take, a thing that can start making a real difference quickly.
It's the entry point.
Yeah. That link in the description. It's more than just a link, isn't it? It's like a potential doorway, a starting point for you to begin reclaiming your freedom.
A way to access help without having to overcome the hurdle of leaving home first.
Exactly. And honestly, right now, while you're listening, while you might be feeling that spark, that urge to make things better, that is the moment.
Don't let it pass.
Click that link. Now, take what really seems like the easiest, most direct first step towards getting the support you need and deserve. It's right there for you.